So here we are, we're currently 3 days there for Arnold Classic Australia. I'm feeling super flat, feeling super depleted, which is awesome, means I'm on the right track. At the moment, we're going to go and train a bit of upper body. We're just going to do some shoulders, some back, some chest. It's going to be blood flowing to the muscle, nothing too crazy now, so I can make sure inflammation is nice and low. After the short workout, I'm going to explain to you guys my breakdown process, day-by-day process, what I'm eating, leading in between now and the Arnold Classic Australia. But in the meantime, it's really important in my peak week, I'm utilising a few products, organic maca powder, organic aquaberry powder and greens. Let's get it. So we just finished doing a little bit of back as the upper half. That was my last workout that I planned on doing. I ended up splitting the workout in two because I just kind of felt like my muscles were fatiguing a little bit too fast, and I felt like, you know, you kind of, when you train for a certain amount of time, you can kind of get that feeling, you know, when you're going to be sore the next day. The last thing I want is to be sore tomorrow. I don't want to create any inflammation. So I thought, you know, I'll split my training up into two today. I'll go back and do another small session tonight, do a bit of back just then. I'll go back tonight and do a bit of shoulders. I'll do a bit of biceps, triceps. Also, another reason why I did that was yesterday being my first day of my peak week protocol, being Monday. I'm on stage on Saturday, which Arnold Classic starts on Friday. I'll be on stage on the Saturday. Monday was my first day of my peak week protocol. In the Melbourne Championships, what I did was I did a couple of days of depleting. This time I did the same thing. I decided, you know, I'll do the same thing. So Monday was my first day of my depletion. In my entire prep, I haven't taken any days at all off whatsoever. So yesterday I was a little bit tired, a little bit lethargic. I got a massage done, muscles were a little bit achy. So I thought for the first time I'll take one day off, let my body regenerate, recuperate, and it'll do me a world of good. It turned out I actually did the opposite. You know, when your body's at this level and your body's used to doing something on such a frequent basis for such a long period of time, when you make those small changes, it makes a massive difference in your body. I ended up taking a day off training. On top of that, I was depleting, so I had zero carbohydrates in my body. My body's been used to having 1 carb meal per day for about 5 days prior to the Monday. So I took my carbohydrate meal out for 1. 2, I didn't train either. So I got really blocked up, and I got really blocked up in my midsection. My colon just wasn't passing through. It was a really uncomfortable feeling all day. Tightness through my chest. So I just couldn't go to the toilet. And I kind of put that down to when your body's so used to training, you know, 2-3 times a day, every single day, your body is using that training as your metabolic release. My body was also using the carbohydrates as my metabolic release. So it turns out having that day off training really didn't do me any good whatsoever. It just blocked me up, made me feel really uncomfortable. So this morning I kept my carbohydrate meal out as planned from the Tuesday. Tuesday also a depletion day. I will be depleting the whole entire day, and today no carbohydrates. I just made sure I put in a little bit of magnesium citrate. What magnesium citrate does is just opens up your colon a little bit, opens up your sphincter a little bit, so everything kind of relaxes and it just enables everything to pass through a little bit faster. It's a bit of a backup plan. I utilised that in my peak week this time just so I don't get blocked up. As my last prep, in my last peak week in the Melbourne Championships, I did find I got a little bit blocked up. So that's one of the changes I'm making coming into Arnold Classic Australia. I'm going to make sure that the magnesium citrate really helps keep my colon moving through. Today being Tuesday, I'm going to make sure I deplete for the entire day, but I'm going to utilise those 2 training sessions, one being now with the back workout I just completed then, and one again tonight, probably a little bit later on, just so I can get that metabolic release. So tomorrow will be Wednesday. Wednesday will be my first day, my first day of carving up. So for my first 3 meals, I'll be having no carbohydrates whatsoever, and then as of my 4th meal, 5th meal, 6th meal, 7th meal is when I'll start my carb up. Now my last prep into the Melbourne Championships, I didn't start my carb up until Thursday morning. This time I'm starting it on the Wednesday night. I feel like this time I'm going to drive that little bit of extra carbohydrates in. On top of that, I've depleted for 1 whole day, 1.5 whole days less than the Melbourne Championship. So I think those small little changes are going to make a massive difference coming out of Classic. I'm going to bring the exactly the same condition, but I'm going to be a lot fuller and a lot harder on stage, which is going to be fantastic. Come Thursday, that'll be my full day of carbohydrates as per usual. Now when I do a full day of carbohydrates, another change I'm going to make with this full day of carbs is, again, magnesium citrate I'm going to be utilizing. But another thing I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be putting green vegetables with every single carb meal, just a small portion, you know, maybe 50 or 60 grams. I feel that when I didn't have the vegetables in with my last peak week into the Melbourne Championships, that may have been a factor to why I was a little bit blocked up. I mean, we worked it out, and I wasn't blown up or anything on stage, but it was just an uncomfortable feeling, you know. May have increased cortisol levels a little bit, maybe stressed out a little bit that I wouldn't have had to. So I just want to eliminate all those issues, so I make sure that coming into this show, I'm fully relaxed, I'm fully happy, and I'm ready for 100% to take on the entire world. That's what I'm going to do this time. So the Thursday I'll have a carb meal every single, for 8 or 9 carb meals as opposed to 7 for the last one, so an extra 2 carb meals. I'm going to add in the green vegetables, 50 gram serving, raw green beans every single meal as well. And I'm going to make sure my protein is nice and low. You still need protein for a little bit of fullness, but what's happening to make my body fill up is the carbohydrates. So that's the change I'm going to make on the Thursday. Friday for me, so as I'm competing this time on a Saturday, whereas the Melbourne Championships I compete on the Sunday, the Friday will be my another big carb day for me, which will be the day right before the Arnold Classic on the Saturday, which will be the pre-judging show. I'm going to do the same thing as I did on Thursday, pretty much exactly the same thing. All I'm going to do different is I'm going to cut my sodium Friday morning opposed to cutting it Thursday night. So with the Melbourne Championship show, I cut it 48 hours out. This time I'm going to cut it about 36 hours out, which is a little bit shorter. That way that the sodium from the body for a little bit longer. So as sodium kind of works, sodium and carbohydrates together work as like a sponge. So it's just going to help my body absorb those glycogen, my muscles absorb the glycogen a little bit more effectively, so I can get even that little bit fuller. Like I said, the Melbourne show, my condition was great, I looked great, I was happy with how I looked. I just could have been a little bit fuller. We don't want to make massive changes, just very, very small changes. So just, you know, drop my sodium 12 hours later opposed to dropping it, you know, 24 hours later. I think that should make that little bit of change. Also on Friday, I'm going to do the same thing as last time. I am going to drop my water. I've decided. I was a little bit iffy whether I was going to not drop my water or keep it in, because I was very, very dehydrated on the day, and I could have been a little bit more hydrated. I found it very hard to hit my poses and contract my mind muscle connection because of my dehydration level. I will be cutting my water, but I'll be cutting it probably 5 hours later than when I cut it and coming to Melbourne Championships. So Friday I'll be cutting my water at about 4:30 p.m. Whereas the Melbourne Championships, I think I cut it at about 11 a.m. with the day prior. So that's a few extra hours of water I'll be getting into my body. And then Friday night, what also I'm going to do is I felt really worked for me really well in the Melbourne Championships. I only did it for 1 meal because I wasn't 100% certain it was a kind of a test, which actually worked out to be really, really good. I'm going to be using my last 3 or 4 carb meals are going to be all dry oats. Now dry oats are fantastic, they worked really good for me, they suck my body right in. Those little last bits of water that I had in my body, the oats just absorbed up overnight, and I woke up the next morning feeling really, really crisp. So if we can kind of utilize these few little changes in my prep, you know, making sure I'm going to the toilet, making sure cortisol is even lower, making sure that I'm putting that little bit more carbohydrates, making sure that the water's in for a tiny bit longer, don't take out the sodium quite so early. These little tiny changes should make that massive difference on stage is what we're hoping to be. You know, I might even be 2 or 3 kilos heavier. Saturday morning, we'll wake up, and the first meal of the day for me, I try and time about 5-6 hours out from when I'm jumping on stage. A massive show at the Arnold Classic, there's thousands of competitors. It's really, really hard to time it exactly because you never know, one class might be bigger than the other class. I don't know how many people are going to be in each class, so I've got to really time that the best I possibly can. I'm going to have a nice big steak with some eggs, just some runny eggs, cooked sunny side up, fried. The eggs are a little bit of sodium in it as well, so it's going to put that sodium back in my body. Since I've cut it 36 hours out prior from the show, I'm just going to put that little bit of sodium back in. So on the day when I put those dry carbs in, like rice cakes and honey, those rice cakes absorb into muscles even better because of that tiny little bit of sodium that I'm putting in my body from the eggs. I'm going to make sure I focus those last 6 hours leading to the show. It's all about me. I'm going to be lying on the floor, and my legs are going to be elevated so the fluid can be draining out of my legs. No fluid whatsoever going into my legs, so I get that nice crisp look on stage. I have my headphones in, some nice calming music. I'm just going to be relaxing as much as I possibly can. Cortisol's super low. I'm going to make sure my tan is on 100% ready to go in my top coat at least an hour before stage. Melbourne Championships, I was super rushed. I had to kind of like put my sodium in, do my tan, do my pump up all in the space of about 5 or 10 minutes. which is what made me stress out that little bit. This time that's not going to happen. My tan's going to be on an hour before stage, absolute minimal. My sodium, I use a dry source of sodium, so I use Doritos as my sodium source. Usually that will go in around about 45 minutes before stage. This time I felt like, I put it in about half an hour last time, but I felt like it was a little bit bloated. So I'm going to put it in about an hour this time early, just to make sure that I don't have any bloat whatsoever, or no feeling of bloat. And then right before stage, I'm going to use a really fast acting carbohydrate with some beetroot extract and some arginine from bulk powders. What that does is that really dilates my blood vessels. All those carbohydrates drive straight into my glycogen cells. I get that nice popping look right before I go on stage. As I'm driving that in, I mix it into a paste, no water, I mix it into a paste, and I just drip feed that in about 30 minutes before I go on stage. An hour or 30 minutes before you go on stage. Then you start pumping up, slowly start pumping up, drive those carbohydrates into your muscle bellies, and then jump on stage, relax and ready to rock it. Saturday is going to be the pre-judging, so I'm really excited about that. I'm going to give that everything I can, because I did the top 6 from that show make it through to the finals. So Sunday's the finals. This is where it all happens. There is no real system for this day, as my body's dried out 100%. I've peaked as hard as I can for the pre-judging show, as I need to peak for that, because only the top 6 do make it through. So that night, usually what I do each year is I'll just have some rice cakes if I need. I do a lot of red meat actually that night. I'll do a lot of red meat. I just feel like the red meat just works for me. You know, when I have red meat, my muscles pop. I digest red meat really well. So I'll be having red meat that night. Also, red meat works by expanding your glycogen cells. So if you want to put in that little bit of extra carbohydrate or glycogen, the red meat works by expanding that cell slightly, so your muscles can hold a little bit more. There's a very fine line between having too much carbohydrates spilling over and getting fluffy, and not having enough carbohydrates and walking on stage flat. So you really want to listen to your body, write everything down, and every single show you do, if you feel that you could have done something to be a little better, make those changes for the next show, but make sure you jot that down on paper, so guarantee a year later you're going to forget it. If I was to win out of my top 6 in my class, a heavyweight class, then I go through to the next round, which is the pro qualifier, which is what I'm hoping to go through to. Basically all that happens is we jump off stage after the top 6, we come back on, they award first place, second place, third place, and the medallions to the rest of the guys. We walk off stage, the rest of the classes get done. First place, every single weight class go all on stage together, and they show down, they do quarter turns, compulsory poses, they do absolutely everything. The judges push you really hard for that event. And then the person who comes first gets awarded their pro card on stage and gets from Arnold Classic himself, which, man, that would be an absolute dream come true. So I put my whole entire life on hold for this the last 15, 16 weeks. It's been a really emotional time for me, and I'm going to do absolutely everything I can to do this. If I get it, I get it. If I don't, I don't. No hard feelings. Every single show I've ever done in my life, apart from last weekend, I've come second. This will be my 6th show. I've done the open heavyweight bodybuilding class in every single division. So this year, I've really planned this prep out right from my last show. Arnold Classic 2015, I finished that stage, 6 a.m. I was in the gym the next morning doing my cardio, and my prep for Arnold Classic 2016 this year started straight away. So it's been a massive year. My body's changed dramatically, my condition has changed dramatically, and I'm super excited to do this. So win or lose, I've won in my eyes, because I'm super happy. In the next video, post Arnold Classic, we're going to go over how I placed, we're going to go over what I've done, we're going to go over what I feel I could have done to be better, we're going to go over if everything was perfect, I'm going to tell you exactly why it was perfect. I'm super excited for that. Also, I'm going to go with you guys my post-comp refeed days. So when I come back, expect my head to be 3 times the size. I do this every single year, whether it be good or bad. I mean, I diet my ass off for like 15 weeks as hard as I possibly can. And then I utilize those couple of days of eating, and I do put quite a lot of weight on. It's a lot of good fun, but within 2 or 3 weeks past those few days of eating, I do pull it back quite fast. So see you guys then. To keep updated with all of Bulk Powders Australia's videos, subscribe to us on YouTube, like us on Facebook, and follow us on Instagram.